Okay, welcome to the Unit 3, Chapter 4, Business Ethics and Social Responsibility presentation lecture. We will go through sections 4.1 and 4.2 in terms of content, so please make sure that you have your notes so that as we go through the presentation content, you can make sure and jot some things down that would be beneficial to know for any upcoming assessments. All right, so let's get started. When it comes to business ethics, what are ethics? Well, ethics are moral principles by which people conduct themselves personally, socially, or professionally. Not only on a personal level, but also on a professional level. And the professional level is what we are going to emphasize in our discussions and our class topics. So when you are guided by ethics, you do not cheat on a test or lie to friends and family. You have personal ethics. Within a business organization, they have ethics as to different processes they do or do not take on. The nature of ethics. Business ethics, similar to ethics, is a little bit different. This is rules based on moral principles about how businesses and employees ought to conduct themselves. These are displayed in cultures. Businesses and industries all have different ethical standards, and you might see references to different ethical practices and standards in things like employee handbooks. Most businesses are guided by business ethics because there has to be some type of a code, if you will, as to how they are going to operate. Different areas of business ethics. Let's take a look at this graphic organizer. There is creating safe products. So you want to make sure that any of the user of your product is not going to be at risk of any type of harm. Creating jobs for employees and different consumers to be able to contribute to the economy is an ethical practice by many businesses. Fair treatment of employees, equal opportunity acts, things like that are in place in order for all employees to have the opportunities of each other. Environmental protection against the environment to make sure there is no unnecessary polluting of waterways or air. And then finally, truthful about financial status. Do not lie about different financial outcomes or projected financial outcomes in an attempt to generate investors or to possibly receive funding from other areas. Now, when it comes to the law of ethics, unethical business practices may include, these just because that they are unethical does not mean that they are illegal. Lying, offering merchandise known to be substandard, and treating customers or employees unfairly. Not necessarily illegal, but they are considered to be unethical. There is a difference between the two. When it comes to different laws and ethics, here is an example of an unethical practice, a sweatshop. A sweatshop is a shop or factory in which workers are employed for long hours at low wages and under unhealthy conditions. More often than not, sweatshops you'll see in underdeveloped countries. Sweatshop is an example of unethical practice, and they are outlawed in the United States. However, they are not outlawed in other countries, which is why you see some of our organizations moving labor warehouses to other countries to be able to save on labor costs, where sweatshops are not illegal. Now, conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is a major ethical question that is generally not illegal, but it still needs to be considered. And a conflict of interest is a conflict between self-interest and professional obligation. These are instances where judgment could be clouded, and instead of decisions being made for professional obligation, they might be made for self-interest or self-gain. Law and ethics, if we take a look at OSHA, which is also the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, they set and enforce work-related health and safety rules. Feel free to visit their website and expand further and explore further in what OSHA is and what they are all about by visiting their website at www.osha.gov. Now, the importance of good ethics. Unethical business practices can result in bad word of mouth loss, which was going to result in bad sales. So if you have bad ethics, you're probably going to have bad PR and bad publicity, which is going to impact your consumers' confidence in willing to buy your products or services. Unethical behavior toward employees can lead to a legal action or a high rate of employees quitting. So same thing that it's going to impact your consumers could also impact your employees and your ability to create a labor force which is going to also impact your ability to provide a good product or service for consumers. So all of these things are intertwined. All of these things can start a domino effect that can be very, very detrimental to the organization's success. Now, if you have good ethics, if a business violates government regulations, the owner can be fined or go to jail. So depending upon the ethical act, if it is unethical, it could also still be illegal, but might not be illegal. If it is, or it violates government regulations, there's consequences to be paid. If an employee violates a company professional code, the employee might be fired or lose his or her license. So now there's implications of whether or not you can even be employed and earn a living. So you want to make sure that you are conducting yourself in an ethical manner, both personally and professionally, to maximize your odds of success. Code of ethics. A code of ethics is a set of guidelines for maintaining ethics in the workplace. Almost every workplace is going to have a code of ethics that is viewable to an employee or anybody from the outside looking in at any time. These are the different guidelines that are set in place to guide business practices and ways of conducting yourself within the business or professional environment. Some ethical questions that might be asked if you are looking to embark on a process: is this against the law? Does it violate company or professional policies? Even if everyone is doing it, how would I feel if someone else did this to me? Am I sacrificing long-term benefits for short-term goals? Very important questions that need to be asked before embarking on a process to determine whether or not it's an ethical or an unethical act. When it comes to the ethical decision-making process, it is a 5-step process: identifying the dilemma, discover alternative actions, decide who might be affected, list probable effects of the alternatives, and then finally select the best alternative. So go through that 5-step process when making ethical decisions. All right, that concludes section 4.1. If you stay with me here, we are going to go right into section 4.2. So here we go. This is the social responsibility aspect of business ethics. So let's move on. Business and social responsibility. When it comes to social responsibility, this relates to businesses. This is when businesses take into consideration all that the business does or does not to solve problems of society. When you are a business or an organization working within a community, it is your responsibility as an organization to have a positive impact on that community. This is the duty to do what is best for the good of society and your immediate community. So a lot of businesses do this in a bunch of different ways of which we will explore in the upcoming class periods. When it comes to areas of social responsibility, there is a responsibility of organizations to its customers, making sure and giving them safe and affordable products. Let me go back. All right, so let's take a look at that a little bit further, responsibilities to customers. When it comes to responsibilities to customers, these are businesses that should offer a good, safe product or service at a reasonable price, as I just mentioned. There are organizations, government organizations in place to make sure that this is happening. The Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA, is a federal government agency, and it protects consumers from dangerous and falsely advertised products. And it ranges from a wide range of different consumable products within the food and pharmaceutical areas of consumer products. Also, when it comes to fair competition for marketplace and operate effectively, we are looking at this as a responsibility to customers, because when companies conspire to restrict competition, consumers are affected, thus impacting the odds of the organization's success. Less choice in products and prices indicates an unethical act and not doing what is best for society and your immediate community. Responsibility to employees, the people who work for your organization and make your products and services for your consumers readily available. What is your responsibility to them as an organization? Businesses can show responsibilities to employees in a bunch of different ways, including but not limited to providing work experience for people with limited job skills, allowing opportunities for volunteerism, fair pay, equal treatment, and providing safe working conditions. All of these are normally going to be addressed and laid out and itemized within an employee handbook that employees are given when they are hired, that they can use for reference at any time. The Equal Pay Act requires that men and women be paid equal or the same wages for doing equal work. There's also the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, which bans discrimination against people with physical or mental disability, which means they are offered the same opportunities as anybody else. The third one is responsibility to society or the immediate community. How is this done? Well, we go back to 1970, where the U.S. government created the Environmental Protection Agency, which is the EPA. This is going to enforce rules against pollution of waterways, airways, emissions into the air and the atmosphere. There are protections in place which are supposed to allow us to better provide environment for our immediate community or society. Being able to breathe clean air, drink clean water, those things. Those are responsibilities to society monitored by the EPA. And then finally, responsibility to creditors and owners. So the head honchos also need a little love. And when it comes to responsibility to creditors and owners, the government passed, this is the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, and I always pronounce that wrong, and I'm sure I did it again, which is to mandate truthful reporting. Now, Sarbanes-Oxley makes the CEO of a business more accountable for the actions of the financial managers of a firm, which pretty much means that your top level manager is responsible for all and has no plausible deniability for anything that's going on within the organization. It is now expected, based off of this act, that the CEO is aware of all different business practices that are taking place within his or her organization, and therefore can monitor to make sure that their organization is being ethical and make sure that they're doing their part when it comes to social responsibility within their immediate communities and society. That concludes the presentation lecture for Chapter 4, Sections 1 and 2. Please make sure that you have concluded the questions that are embedded into this presentation, as well as completed the notes and submit those on Classroom. And with that being said, I will see you in the next class period.